Bags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it's time for my review of the second studio album from Marshmello, Joytime 2. Marshmello is one of the two aliases of a Mr. Christopher Comstock, a DJ and producer from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. For a while, Marshmello's identity was pretty much unknown, and that was a huge factor in bringing Marshmello to prominence. Personally, I've never really considered myself to be a Marshmello fan, and I've never really understood the hype either. As some of you might remember from my review of Marshmello's debut album, Joytime, I wasn't really that crazy about the album, but I have enjoyed my fair share of Marshmello remixes and originals over the years, including but not limited to his Hello remix, his Where Are You Now remix. I liked Alone a lot when it first came out. I think Ritual is probably his best song that he's done. And I'd also say I felt pretty positive toward Wolves and Spotlight, that posthumous Lil Peep collaboration. Needless to say though, most of my favorite productions from Mr. Comstock are not a part of the Joytime series. Marshmello's very simple, monotonous, happy trap sound isn't something that has ever really attracted me. Though I did appreciate songs like Summer and Keep It Mellow, I had hoped that Marshmello with his second album, whenever that was going to be, would be a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more diverse, and show off his abilities across the board as a music producer. And well, that did not happen with Joytime 2. I guess more than anything, I'm just surprised that this album happened at all. I mean, when Marshmello announced that this album was coming, I was more surprised than anything. It's not like Joytime was this crazy, critically acclaimed album that everyone was talking about. I think the album got largely ignored and people focused more on the songs themselves than like the album itself. In fact, I was actually the only person to have reviewed the album on YouTube for a long time, up until Arinthesizer went and covered it earlier this year, I think. Even so, I don't think anybody was asking for this album to happen. I guess some people may have gotten tired of Marshmello doing pop music, but I thought that's what songs like Moving On and Fly and You and Me were there for, to satisfy those fans. But I guess something possessed Marshmello to make this album, and you guys have been requesting left and right for me to review it, so I guess here we are. Marshmello himself has described this album as no features, no pop, just bounce and fun. And while I do kind of resent Marshmello for going and making another album that, in my opinion, embraces his worst qualities, this statement isn't even really true, because let me tell you, I had absolutely no fun listening to this album. Not only does Joytime 2 very quickly remind me of all the reasons that I didn't like the first Joytime album, but it's somehow even worse. Like I said, I'm no Marshmello hater by any stretch, but I'm just confused as to why this album sounds like it could have been made by a 13-year-old who just picked up FL Studio a month ago. This music is just absolutely substanceless. There's no meat to it. The songs on this album are generally comprised of your basic 808s, a big sawtooth bass line, some sub-bass, maybe a lead synth, and like a vocal chop of some kind, which is usually looped over and over and over again. Occasionally, Marshmello will sprinkle over a couple other elements, but it's kind of few and far between. I guess the most and really the only significant progression that this album has over the original Joytime is that Marshmello does his own vocals on a couple different songs, but really they're not anything to brag about. I mean, he's not a great vocalist. He kind of sounds like a discount Mark Hoppus from Blink-182, except without that same punk grittiness that Mark has. The mixing isn't really that fantastic from track to track either, a job that should have been pretty easy considering how minimal the songs are. And this album also doesn't really sound like it was mastered to fit track to track. I could definitely hear some weird EQ issues when I was listening to this on my headphones, but I'd say that more than anything, my biggest problem with this album is just in how repetitive it is. Practically every single song on Joytime 2 is going to be a basic 16-bar loop of the same melody, the same 4 chords, and the same vocal stem over and over again. I will give Marshmello slight props for changing up some of the melodies in the second drops of certain songs like Together, but even those aren't really enough to save these songs from how mind-numbingly boring they are. When it comes to the individual songs of this album, I'd say there were definitely a couple that did stand out to me, but not because I thought they were great, but more just because everything surrounding them is so bad. Rooftops, though I do think the vocals are painfully annoying, I think had probably the most balanced and filled out mix of the entire album. And I guess the other one that kind of stood out to me was Imagine, which is the album's closer, and less because it's like interesting or compelling in any way, but more just because it takes on like a different style, kind of more goes for that dancehall sound, whereas most of this album is kind of going for that happy trap, like hybrid sound. Either way though, I couldn't really see myself coming back to any of the tracks on this album. At least Joytime had Keep It Mellow. This album doesn't really have anything. Yeah, I don't really know what Marshmello was thinking when he went in to make this album. I mean, I just don't see who it's for. I think the only people who could really enjoy Joytime 2 are people that A, enjoyed the first Joytime a lot, and B, that have a very entry-level taste in electronic music. Beside that, I'd say this album is streaming revenue and nothing more. There's absolutely no artistry here. This is just Marshmello giving his paycheck a little boost. For Joytime 2, I am feeling a light 1 out of 10. As always, if you guys haven't listened to this album yet, I will have the Spotify link down in the description below, though I wouldn't really suggest listening to this album. And if you have listened to it already, definitely let me know what you think down in the comments section below. As always, I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll catch you later. Peace.